gonna do something different today. We've been, well, not me so much, Corey has been working in the yard a lot trying to get ready for the wedding.
Yes, I have, but today it's raining and we need to do a Penelope project, so it's a perfect time. We can do that indoors.
Right.
Welcome to our shop. So this is where the beaver is actually stored when it's back in BC, which really hasn't been for quite a while. But today we're going to use this space on a rainy day to do a project on Penelope. Today we're going to change the awning out, and apparently it's easy. We're going to find out.
You may remember back when we were showing you all the things that you should be looking into when buying a used RV, that we had some concerns about our awning on Penelope. Now, we knew we were going to need to do some work, but we really didn't know what we were going to need to do. So then when we were on the Sunshine Coast, we opened her all up and had a good look to see. And it turns out that the arms on our awning are just fine, and we don't need to do anything with them. But we do need to replace the awning fabric because it's got holes and tears and things in it. So we got a hold of a company in the States called Shade Pro, and they have been kind enough to gift us with some fabric, and we can just replace it ourselves. They say it's a DIY project, no problems at all. So in this video, we're going to show you how we replace this awning fabric. Now, we have the Dometic A&E awning. Yours may be different and it may be similar. So we are going to go through all the steps, and we take some fairly good safety precautions to take care of us because the spring mechanisms could cause you harm. So it's important that you take all the safety precautions that you need to take for your specific type of awning, so that you're safe while you do it and you get out of there in no time flat with a great new awning. So as we go through and we show you all the steps here, if you think this is something that you're interested in doing, we'll put a link in the description to an affiliate link that we have with Shade Pro so that you could get some fabric and do it yourself as well. So Corey, show us what's in the box. What did they send us?
So it looks like we got the awning fabric. Looks like the strap for pulling it out, a new one of those.
Nice.
Handy. And some directions. So you flip this lever into the roll out position, pulling it down. Next, we pull the awning out. And then they say to pull these A arms out and lock them. We'll do the same at the other end, and I think that's so that these don't fall to the ground when we pull this tube off of here. The next step is to ensure that the springs are locked in place before we undo these bolts and pull this tube off. So at this end, we're able to do that with this locking lever. If it's in the roll down position, then this shouldn't be able to unwind the spring. So it's important that that doesn't get bumped during the process, especially once this is off, or the spring will unwind and it's kind of a dangerous situation, or can be. Now we have to secure the spring position in this end, the back end of the trailer. And to do that, you slip something, I'm using a nail, was one of the suggested things. You slip it into the hole in this end cap, and then there's a hole in the shaft that's in alignment with this spring pin, but inside here. And I've loosened this off, this arm up, so that I can move this mechanism down so that it can line up, and you should feel it slip in once it's in alignment. There it went in a long ways. Now that will keep the spring from unwinding when we take this off of the arm. Very important that that gets done. And the other end, like I said, is locked by the mechanism. So now we should be able to go ahead and remove this drum from the arms. The next step in the directions is to clamp this shaft with vice grips so that the spring can't unwind when I disconnect take this bolt off and disconnect the drum from the arm.
Just a question. What would happen if it did unwind?
This would spin violently until it was unwound.
So it would be dangerous.
It would be dangerous. So I'm going to hold this remove this bolt, and then we should be able to take the drum off of this end. And I'll see if there's tension on this before I let go of it. So I will remove this bolt. I did loosen those knobs so that we can push this up and get a bit of slack in it. And then I'll see. Can you just tighten that knob there? So this does not want to unwind. Like I can let go of this and it's fine. And the other end, remember, we have pinned with that nail. Now I do have a little prop here I use for my snowmobile.
Here, let your assistant get that.
Can Vanna bring that over here and we'll just set this on that? Okay, so now we'll go to the other end and do the same thing. And I know this is pinned, so it shouldn't, the spring shouldn't want to unwind on me. So I should be able to remove this bolt, same as the other end. Remove that. So while you're moving that around, you want to be careful that you don't bump this lever, or that spring probably will unwind on you, and now at this point this would go flipping all over the place. You could, it looks like you could pin this one too, the same as we did on the other one, and then it wouldn't matter which position that pin went to.
Just in case you bumped.
Correct. Yeah, I mean if you bumped it on these arms. Well, some of them don't have apparently provision for the pin, so you have to actually, when you pull it off, immediately unwind it with vice grips. So now that we have this off, and I know it's not going to unwind the spring with the lever in this position, I do need to unwind the spring, which means moving the lever to the roll-up position. But before I do that, I need to place these channel locks in a position where I can actually rotate them. And here, it's going to hit this. So I'm going to unclamp them. So I'm going to stick them here, and then I'm going to get Denise to keep this roller by just putting a screwdriver in this slot from rotating, and then I can release the pressure off of this, and then we'll start unwinding the spring. And I'll count the revolutions because we're going to need to put those revolutions back on after we put the new awning on. I'll know that the spring is fully unwound when there's no tension there anymore, and I can actually let go of this and it won't keep spinning. Okay, so if you stick the screwdriver in there to keep it from rotating, yeah, and then I do that, you can see this starts to lift, and you can flip that over, and then...
So right now it would not be safe to let go of those vice grips.
No, it could really whap you. This is probably the most dangerous part of the whole thing. So there's 1, 2, 14. Okay, so 14 to unwind it, so we need to...
Can I take my...
You should be able to remove that, and everything should be stable. So this process is actually similar to winding an overhead door spring. I mean, it's not as much tension on this as there is on a bigger door, but same principle. It uses spring energy to roll it back up.
So at this point, the dangerous part's over and we're not going to worry anymore?
I think, unless we fall off a ladder, I think we're good.
Okay, so what's next?
We checked the directions, but I think this cover has to come off so we can slide this tube out. So next we need to take this end cap off here. And before we do that, we should mark it just in a line there and a line there. Could be anywhere really, just so that it goes back on in the same spot. So we have a reference point. So now I'm just going to remove these 2 screws. There's one on either side. Sometimes apparently these can be pop rivets. On this one it's screws, which is for me much easier. And I'm told this will just slide right out. But that's the theory. Okay. Here's your spring. We need to mark what each of these slots was. And this cover covers this end. So I'm going to put a P here. Oop. For pull strap. A there. And I don't know if you can see it, but a V there for balance. This tube needs to go that way, which there's a wall that way. But I think we can run this tube into the office, maybe up onto my desk.
So right now we're going to move the roller out of the fabric, and then we'll pull the fabric off of the top rail.
The top rail, yes. So I think it's going to take two of us to do this. So after our first attempt to pull this tube out of the awning, we realized that these rubber bands, which hold the awning in place, were tucked into the tube at this end, and I believe they are at that end too. So it keeps us from being able to slide the tube off. So we have two options here. We can clamp this, pull that pin, and unwind this spring as well, and then pull this cover off, or we can just cut these rubber bands that are in here. We did manage to get through that one, and now I just got to get through this one, and then we'll give it another try. So the next step is to get that top bracket off of the top rail so that we'll be able to slide that awning out that way. And to do that, I think I'm actually going to disconnect this from the bottom. And just leave it like that so that when I undo those bolts, we can just pull this whole thing off. Okay, so now I'm going to remove these two bolts. And theoretically, this should all come off. So in order to slide this fabric out, we're going to need to remove this rain guard, which is that screw there, and then there's a set screw through the awning material itself. So there'll be another one of these set screws at the other end for the awning. We need to remove that before we can actually slide it out. So we'll go do that now. Okay, the next step is to pull the fabric off the front. Let her rip!
I don't think so.
Let her rip! I'll try to push you to come over here. 1, 2, 3. She's been in here a while. Like a naked trailer.
At this point, we just want to stop for a few minutes and do a bit of a recap of the steps that we went through to get the old fabric gone. Yay, it's gone.
It is.
So we pulled the awning all the way out.
And then we secured the ends so that the springs wouldn't unwind.
That's the safety feature. You need to make sure you do that.
Once that was done, we could remove the roller from the arms.
And then Corey carefully counted how many unwinds to loosen the spring inside the roller.
And we did just one end. The other end is still wound up.
But it has
that safety pin in it. And then you remove the end cap and the entire spring mechanism. And this allows you to separate the roller from the awning material.
Yay, that was a big deal to get that far. Once we got there, it was a matter of going up to the top and removing the whole arm mechanism from the trailer.
Yeah, there's just 2 bolts that hold a bracket on the top, and then the other bottom end just has a quick release, and you can remove the whole thing.
And while he was up there, he needed to get rid of the rain spout, and there was another bolt.
There was set screws at each end of the awning to hold it in place. So we removed the rain gutter so that we could slide it out and remove those 2 set screws. And then we were able to, as you see, just rifle that bugger right out of there.
It was a bit tough. And then once we had that all done, we gave the whole rail a good scrubbing and have applied some tape to any sharp areas. And we've tried to secure anything on the side of the trailer that could be a catch point.
Yeah, basically just reducing snag points, and we'll kind of carefully put it back in the track. And how hard could it be?
So let's move on to part 2 and get the new fabric up.
So next we're going to install the top bracket on the arm that we took off. And then to do that, I need to cover these screws in caulk so that it seals the hole back here as it goes in, and we don't get any leaks. I'm just using RV caulk. I won't tighten that completely till I get the other one in. Okay. Swipe off the excess. Next, we just clip this arm into the bottom of the bracket, and then we can install the awning fabric onto the tube.
Next, I'm just gonna clean up this whole roller. I mean, it's had years and years of grime and bird poop and moldy stuff. So I'm just gonna give it a good scrub and clean it up, and then we'll move on to putting it back in the fabric.
So with the awning fabric, they've given us a new pull strap too, so I'll just replace that. Very simple. Slide this one out the end. Discard. And slide the new one in. And then this can slide obviously to wherever you want to be able to pull it from. So the next step is to reinsert the roller into the fabric. And you want to leave space at the end you're doing that from. We did not, but fortunately we have a door that goes into the office and we can run it into there and then slide it along. It would be advisable to, if you had some silicone lubricant or something, to spray in these grooves. It would make it easier to slide on. We don't, but and we'll see how that goes. Maybe it'll still go easy. I don't know.
You almost knocked the camera over.
Okay, I think we're ready. It's like the dryer situation. We're going to insert the tube into the awning fabric. To do that, I've marked A for awning, V for valance. So this is the awning valance. And I just start feeding these through. Just gotta try and keep everything in alignment. Let's try turning it a bit like that. Okay, now that's easier. So we've run into a little bit of a snag when we're putting the roller through the fabric. It won't go far enough because those plastic pieces on the end that slide into the groove are too long, so it's not allowing us to slide it on to center the fabric on the roller. So what we need to do is cut some of that out of there. And I've got, to center it, I've got 3 3/4 inches here from the fabric to the inside of this cap. On the other end, where that inside of the cap would be to the fabric, is 1/4 inch. So I know I have 4 inches, so I need to have 2 inches on either side. To do that, I need to cut 1 3/4 inches off of those plastic pieces, and then I can slide it down to center. Not a big deal, but
And that's important that those are at the right spot so that the fabric doesn't slide back and forth.
Yeah, I think it's better if they're tight together rather than having space in there, because then it just kind of keeps everything where it should be. So that's what we're gonna do. We'll slide it down, center it, and then we'll move on. I got this cut. Now we can just kind of pry it out of there. With the fabric not on this, it's not easy to get it out, but you can actually get it out.
But it would have been hard to know how much to cut off of there before we slipped it in.
Yeah, it would. So I cut that plastic out. Now I should be able to slide this together. And if it's done right, we should have 2 inches there.
Perfect. Now what about the other end?
Moment of truth. So you can see by this line where the edge of the cap would be. Oh, let me just push that a little harder.
Close enough?
It's pretty close. If we have to make a small adjustment, once it's up, we will. But good for now. The other end, I need to just clip these a little bit too, because they're sticking out and I think they'll impede the cap going on. So I'll just... Okay. Now we can put the cap on, put the screws in, and then wind the spring.
Good.
So remember I made a mark here, which should line up with that mark there, which should make these screw holes line up, which it does. Can you pass me a screw there? I'll just put the other one in before I tighten that up. So now, and switch this around to the roll down position. And then this should only allow us to roll one way. The only way we can go is the opposite way we were. Now this was pointed down, and I'm gonna go 24, I'm just kidding. I'm gonna go 14 revolutions, winding this spring up. Maybe you could hold that. 1. And that's 14.
Now what?
Now we reattach the roller assembly to the arms.
Okay.
We're getting there. So an important step to remember also when you're winding this spring back up, this bracket needs to be positioned the same as the bracket at the other end. So I've taken a look at the one at the other end, and it's actually, this is pointed this way. So I need to make that the same. It'll make it much easier to reattach the roller assembly to the arms. So I'm just going to wind it a little bit more. If we look at the other end, it should be pointed about the same way. So now we're going to pick this up and just slip it right into the arm. You want to be sure you don't bump this into the other position. Voila! Do we have the screw, Nana? Probably just going to do that hand tight till we get the other one in. And then we put the other end in, same way. And this is why it was important to get these pointed the right direction, because if they were different than the other end, then you wouldn't be able to get it in this end. But it fits nicely in. And I've already got it in the other end, so I can go ahead and tighten this one up. There's that one. And notice this is slack right now, so that we can get these on easily. If it was tight, it would be more of a challenge.
What's next?
I guess we roll it up and see how it goes. So we'll want to undo those and get the slack taken out of here, and then we can flip this switch and let it roll up and see how it manages. So we've got the slack out of the awning, but there is one more step before we can roll it up. We've got to release this spring by pulling this pin out. So if I just take the tension off of the pin by rolling it out a bit, and I can pull that out, And now.
Okay, so why is it not rolling up?
It's not rolling up because at the other end we have that switch that's in the rollout position.
Okay.
So it just keeps everything from moving because they're tied together now.
So the moment we move that switch, she's going to want to.
It should want to roll up, yeah, which is what it always has done, right? If we've done it right, it should work like it did before, except we have new fabric.
Yeah, and it's nice too.
It actually matches quite nice.
I know, it really matches. Yay, Penelope.
So we'll roll it up a few times and down, like up and down a few times to make sure it tracks properly. And then we'll set the screws at the top to hold it in place, and then we're pretty much done.
Okay.
It's that easy.
Let's see you do it.
Okay. Okay, so we're ready for the roll up. Push that switch, and then how's it look?
Good.
Is it lined up? Looks pretty close. So now that the awning is on, everything's good. The last step is to put these set screws back in to hold the awning from moving. Now this is right at the edge of the awning, but it will go into that rubber strip or rubber tube thing at the end. Okay. And then I'll do the same at the back end. There's a set screw at the back end as well. The other thing that we did, we took off the rain spout and it actually broke. So I'm going to get new rain spouts for all the corners, and I'll put those on in the coming weeks.
All right, we're back with the final recap. The fabric is on, yay. So the steps that we went through for that, we put the fabric along the top rail of the trailer first, slid that into place. We cleaned up the roller. We put the roller into the fabric, lining it up with all the marks that we made and all the little pieces that went through.
We reattached the arms to the top of the trailer and to the bottom of the trailer. And then we took the spring mechanism and the end of the roller and reinserted it, lined it up with the marks we'd made when we took it out. And then we secured it and wound the spring back the 14 turns that we unwound it when we took it off. Then we reattached the ends of the roller to the arms, and then we went and took the pin out that was locking the spring from unwinding on the other end, and then we were able to roll it up and down a few times to make sure it was in alignment. And then the final step was to put the set screws in up at the top at each end of the awning so that it can't move.
And we're super happy so far. It was not that difficult of a process. We had a few glitches, but we figured them out.
If you just work through the process, the steps, it's actually not that overwhelming, and it just, in the end, you're done.
And we're super happy with our Shade Pro fabric here. Of course, we got to go test it out now, so we got to get Penelope back out on the road. So stay tuned, and we'll let you know how we like it, how it's working, how it's standing up. But she matches Penelope just perfectly.
It actually does.
And this is pretty nice fabric. So we're happy with all of that. No more dripping through our awning when we have it out. We'll show you all the tools that we used, but I will put a list in the description so you don't miss anything when you're gathering your tools.
We hope you found this video useful, and let us know how your DIY project goes. Thanks for watching. I guess I need a screwdriver for this. We got the wrong tool. We got the frickin' whoopsie. Just the right bit. It's important that you get the right socket for the bolt. Let me go do that. Yeah.